With the NFL coaching carousel in full swing, there are a number of openings across the league. But which one is the best? Today, using a patented system I developed about 5 minutes ago, we're going to take a deep dive to decide which head coaching job is the most desirable. Okay, so here is a grid of all the jobs. We got the Chargers, the Falcons, the Panthers, the Raiders, the Commanders, the Patriots, the Titans, and the Seahawks. The system that I'm going to use is this. We're going to give them scores for quarterback, roster, and everything else I'm writing, etc. That's like owner, which matters a lot, city, vibes, etc. The scale that I came up with is 1 through 5, 5 being the best. So like if you were to, I don't know, take over the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, you get a 5 for quarterback, 1 being the worst. All right, so we're going to start with the Los Angeles Chargers. I'm giving this a 5 for quarterback. It's, I think, clearly the best of all of these options. Justin Herbert, the most desirable aspect of this job. Roster, however, is not great. This is part of the reason why they haven't had success in recent years, despite having good quarterback. That's a 2 for me. They have very, very little cap space, have some difficult decisions to make. Probably going to have to get rid of some of their aging stars, likes of Keenan Allen, Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa, etc. A lot of work to be done there. And then etc. This is a tricky one because in some ways, the Chargers aren't one of the like premier big budget franchises, but you don't really have like a huge spotlight on you because not a massive angry fan base. So I'll give it a 3. So the final score is 10 for the Chargers. Not bad out of a possible 15. All right, so the Atlanta Falcons, this is an interesting one at quarterback because they don't have a quarterback, but they do have the 8th overall draft pick and the desire to get a quarterback. I think they'll have options. I've said I like them as a Justin Fields destination, but I'll probably have to give that a 2 since it is a question mark. The roster, however, I'll give a higher score. I like this roster. I think they've obviously got the ton of skill players, even though Arthur Smith refused to use them. And then this defense took a big leap under their defensive coordinator, Ryan Nielsen. The free agent signings were really great. Jesse Bates been like the best safety in football. So that's a 4 for me. And then etc. I will also give a 4. I think this is a good team to coach for. I think their owner, Arthur Blank, is a good owner. He's mostly a patient owner. It's a fan base that's really hungry for success. So they're tying the Chargers, despite not having a quarterback with 10. Okay, the Panthers. I don't want to do the quarterback score here. I feel bad. The track record of quarterbacks coming in and having the kind of miserable year Bryce Young did and then going on to have success is not very good. I'll go 1.5. It doesn't mean I've lost faith in Bryce Young. I just think he's pretty behind the 8 ball and the early returns are not great. Roster also not in a great spot. Still some talent on defense, but offensively just so many needs on the offensive line, skill player, and then you don't have that first round draft pick, of course, because the Bears have it. And then etc. I'll go 0.5 here because their owner, David Tepper, is probably the least desirable owner of the group, certainly, not just because he might throw a drink at you, but also because he is meddling and quick to fire and quick to pull the trigger. So all told, that's a pretty dismal 4 for that job. Moving on to the Raiders, quarterback also not great here. I'll go 2. They paid Jimmy Garoppolo, benched him after he was injured, stuck with Aiden O'Connell. He showed something, I would say, but probably not enough for you to feel really good about him being the long-term answer. Roster, I think, is a little bit better. I'll go 3. I think this defense took a pretty big step forward this year. Under their defensive coordinator, Patrick Graham, assuming he sticks around. I think that should continue. You still have Devontae Adams. I think the offensive line isn't bad, etc. This is tricky because I think if you're not Antonio Pierce and you get this job, you're going to be compared to their interim head coach, Antonio Pierce. Mark Davis isn't a terrible owner to work for. He doesn't have a ton of capital, it seems. It seems. But Vegas makes it a little bit desirable. I'll go 3 for etc. So that gives you 2, 5, 8. All right, the Washington Commanders. Sad little logo there. This is a really interesting spot because I think this is like the blank slate of teams. I actually think this is a very desirable quarterback. I'm actually going to say 4 because you have that second overall pick. The new head coach will get to come in and play a huge role in determining which of the top draft picks will be their quarterback, unless for some reason they decide to move on from that. I don't think they will. Roster, this is interesting. I'm actually going to go 3. The defense is pretty barren after they confusingly traded both of their edge rushers. The defensive tackle is obviously very good. Back 7 needs a ton of work, but they have the most cap space of any team in the NFL. Offensively, I actually think they're pretty solid. Good skill players, good wide receivers in McLaurin and Dotson. Whatever young quarterback ends up here, it's not going to be like Bryce Young in Carolina. You're in a much better situation. And then, etc. I'll go 5. I think this is a great spot for a new head coach in the same way that it was a great spot for the new owner, Josh Harris, because the bar was hell. And everything he does will be viewed through rose colored glasses. I think that the head coach walks in with a long leash and a fan base that's obviously very hungry. So that's an impressive 12. Okay. Patriots. Quarterback got a question mark. They have the 3rd overall pick. It's amazing how much different that is from 4. Potentially you could take LSU's Jaden Daniels. You might also be one of the teams that's considering trading for Justin Field. There are options. It's just a big question mark at the moment. Roster, I actually think this defensively is still a very good roster. Offensively needs a lot of work. I'll go 3 there. And then etc. This is tough because on one hand, very good ownership. The organization is obviously one of the premier organizations in the NFL. On the other hand, you're filling Bill Belichick's shoes. That to me knocks it down a peg because it makes the job, in my opinion, less desirable. So I'm actually gonna go 2 here because I think that sucks. So that's an 8. Titans quarterback Will Levis probably next year. I think they're going to give him another chance. I think he flashed, although he was playing behind very bad offensive line, not the easiest situation. I'll go 2 or 3. I'll go 2. Maybe that's a little low, but the roster is also not in great shape. This is a rebuilding team, right? You need to fix that offensive line. You need skill players. You need players in the secondary. You need a lot. And then that brings me to the ownership piece, which I think makes this job kind of undesirable in some ways because the current owner, Amy Strunk Adams, I was Amy Adams, sorry. She has kind of a history of surprising decisions, not just the firing of Mike Vrabel, but last year she surprised people by firing their GM midseason, John Robinson. Before that, she fired Mike Mularkey after he won a playoff game. She's kind of a wild card. So I would go 2 here as well, which brings us to 6. Although I do like Nashville. Finally, my Seattle Seahawks. Okay, everything I say here, people will say is biased. So 10 out of 5. No, okay, quarterback. I have made it pretty clear. I think Geno Smith was not the problem in Seattle. Maybe he's not one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL. But when you consider what's going on here, I'd say he's pretty desirable. He's on a reasonable contract. I'm going to say 4. People won't agree with that necessarily, but I think he's a good quarterback. You know what? I'll bump down to 3 so people don't yell at me. 3.5. Roster. This is a good roster. You've got really good wide receivers, young offensive line that did regress a bit this year, needs help. Defensively, a lot of talented players. I think they just underperformed relative to the talent. There still are holes on the defense. I'll go 3. They don't have a lot of cap space or draft capital. They traded away their second for Leonard Williams. Decision that doesn't look great today. And then, etc. This is a really desirable organization. I think, though, it does suffer from the same thing that I would be hypocritical of me not to say when you're stepping into the legendary coach's shoes. That can cause problems, that being Pete Carroll. Ownership, we don't really know a lot about Jody Allen. This was kind of surprising that she moved on from Pete Carroll, frankly. I'll go, you know what? I'm going to screw it. I'm changing Geno back to 4. And I'm going to go 3 for etc., which brings us to 10. Okay, so by my incredibly scientific formula, This is kind of a shocking result. The most desirable coaching job is the Washington Commanders, followed by, in a three-way tie, the Chargers, the Falcons, and the Seahawks. The least desirable spot is Carolina. Sorry, Panthers fans.